How long is this sustainable?
Wow. It's not. It won't be from the first day. For every meal that a food bank provides, the SNAP program provides 9. There's no way we can meet that gap. There's no way we can replace every single one of those meals. It is not sustainable for food banks to fill this gap. We were not built to do this. We will stand out there and we will do our very best.
Sorry. How's everybody doing today? This is Attorney Antonio Moore coming to you from Tone Talks. We're going to have a discussion today. We're going to talk about food stamps. We're going to talk about these airports. We're going to talk about the impacts of the budget shutdown, of the government shutdown and the budget being frozen. And we're going to give you a chance to call in and talk about your personal experiences. I hope no one that is watching this show is being hit by the craze of Trump's administration. We talked about it from the first administration. We talked about it with the second administration, while many particularly black folks, told us that Trump was an option. We told you Trump was not an option because your auntie, your cousin might be on programs. Well, we here today and we're seeing the impact of your auntie, of your cousin being on them stamps, being in need of assistance, being in need of bigger government, and we are seeing a Trump that is saying, who cares that they are your auntie? Are you prepared to hear that from them today? We got Indianapolis out here. We got people all across this country. Shout out to you, Aaron Green. Shout out to everybody that's tuning in today. We're going to do this show regularly at 4 p.m. I'm catching it right now because they are doing some construction, and I just wanted to catch this window where they weren't and talk about this. Please support this channel. Please call in 310-388-3499. I would love to hear from you. Support the channel at tonetalks.net. And I want to hear your opinion on this issue, on this topic. How many people have been affected by this closed government? We're closed. We're sorry. Due to the shutdown of the federal government, the D.C. facility is closed. Trump is not budging. The Democrats are not budging, and we are all impacted. Government shutdown could become the longest ever. This was back on November 2nd. We now know it is the longest ever. So they were talking about it could become the longest ever, as Trump says he won't be extorted by Democrats. But we now know that it is the longest ever. The U.S. government shutdown is now expected to last through Thanksgiving. Does everybody understand what the airports will look like with the reduction, as they're talking about, of flights going through the holidays? The U.S. government shutdown is now expected to last through Thanksgiving until December 1st, according to Polymark. That's what everybody is saying. This would mark a 61-day shutdown, almost doubling the record. Air traffic control is now short over 3,000 employees. This is something beyond measure. I don't know if everybody is understanding this. I need you to be reaching out to your family. I need you to be in contact with those around you to understand what's going on. Now, I know you might not be able to help, but at least you can help with a phone call that shows that you care. Can we get to it today? Oh, somebody said, may the odds forever be in our favor. I think I was saying that from Hunger Games some while ago. But I want to give context to shutdown. So now two of the longest shutdowns in the history of the nation are under Trump's 2 tenures, 2 presidencies. We had a 34-day shutdown back in 2018. Before that, the longest was 21 days under Clinton. Back with Reagan, it was 1-day shutdowns. We have a 35-day shutdown. I believe this is 36 and counting. This is day 36 today. We are in unmarked, unmeasured territory in the current government shutdown. Is officially the longest in U.S. history. Does everybody see the red lines mark the current shutdown? And we are counting. We may get to a point where if you add in the top 10 or 15 shutdowns together, we may get to a point where we can count all that together and still have this shutdown add up to that. I hope not, because if we get to that point, this will be cataclysmic in nature. I see you guys out there. Shout out to everyone. Tone cares and don't nobody else care. Well, I care enough to do a show where we get into the realities of you understanding the historical nature of shutdowns, the reality of the Trump administration post notice that no federal food aid will go out November 1st. So November 1st came and went, and a lot of people didn't get to eat that day. They didn't get their food stamps. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has posted a notice on its website saying federal food aid will not go out November 1st, raising the stakes for families nationwide as the government shutdown drags on. So the Trump you're seeing is a guy that's trying to use business book negotiation with American families' lives. He's trying to negotiate with starvation to get what he wants. The new notice comes after the Trump administration said it would not tap roughly $5 billion in contingency funds to keep benefits through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, commonly referred to as SNAP, flowing into November. That program helps 1 in 8 Americans buy groceries. Bottom line, the well has run dry. The USDA notice says at this time, there will be no benefits issued November 1st. Let me make sure I get this big enough where we can see this, where we can understand it. Is everybody seeing this article? I want to make sure that we all are on the same page, that we are having a mature discussion, that we are sharing this video, that we are engaging our families, our neighborhoods, our communities, our churches, our schools, our workplaces with the conversation that moves into a reality of what Trump means to your lives, what a stagnant government means to your lives. The shutdown, which began October 1st, is now the second longest on record. It's now the longest. I just showed you. While the Republican administration took steps leading up to the shutdown to ensure SNAP benefits were paid this month, meaning in October, the cutoff would expand the impact of the impasse to a wider swath of Americans. Again, it was October 26th when this was written. I'm going to take the first caller tonight. 786, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, hello. I'm Carl. I'm calling from South Florida.
Give me your take on this about the food aid before I get right into this show about the government shutdown. What did you want to say? I see you called in early.
Oh, I'm just saying you're completely right. It's not just affecting the food stamps, but my brother also works in at an airline, and it's also affecting that too. They're shutting pretty much everything down. Their plan right now is that they're planning to limit the amount of flights that are coming in and out because of TSA staff and other federal employees as well, air traffic controllers as well. And a few months ago too, because I guess it was a harbinger, but a few months ago too, the previous position that I worked for, I was an accountant. We were doing Section 8, and right now they're hurting right now where the current administration that they have here right now, it's been difficult for them to get Section 8 funding, and now with the new government shutdown, it's really just going to get a lot worse.
Look here,
I don't think people have really seen it yet. Every week they keep saying, or at the beginning of the week, they keep telling us that they'll have a deal by the end of the week, and I don't think it's going to be by the end of this week.
Let me get to the show. Let me get to the show. I want you to stay tuned in. I appreciate you kicking off the beginning of this show with that personal testimonial. We're gonna keep going. So that gentleman just talked about his brother, and I'm gonna talk about the airlines later on in the show. But there's so many different aspects to this, but we're now in unmeasured territory. Again, the longest shutdown that we've ever had was in 2018 under Trump. And before that, it was 21 days under Clinton back in 95. 30 years ago. And before 95, most of them were in 78, 77, 77, 82. We had a 5-day one in 95. Under Obama, we had a 16-day one in 2013. But we haven't seen these kind of shutdowns. Do you understand the possible consequence to yourself, to your children, to your grandma, to your sister, to your cousin? Do you understand the consequences to your job, to your stability? I just want to make it clear today because we had the SNAP recipients on TikTok threaten to start looting stores. I'm not here to chastise these people, and I'm not here to promote any kind of viewpoint of seeing them as dangerous. But what I am here to say is it's dangerous when people can't eat. It is dangerous when people near you, around you, in your community cannot eat. Now, you can sit up with a conservative viewpoint that I shouldn't have to pay for them to eat, but what I take is a viewpoint that we shouldn't live in a country where people can't eat. Can we talk today? Particularly a country where Adolf's people built it. SNAP recipients are taking to TikTok and threatening to loot grocery stores if their food stamp payments don't go through on November 1st due to the government shutdown. I'm going to tell y'all straight up like this. I just got that text that the link is definitely cut the F off for November. Y'all better stay the F out of my way in these stores because I'm walking out with carts and I'm not paying for S. One angry SNAP recipient fumed on TikTok, and I don't want to hear Ralph's or Vaughn's or Kroger or Publix making these people that work at those stores play security guard in the middle of this tense moment. They are not there to be the security for your food because Trump ain't giving out the SNAP. Don't put these people in no dangerous position. Okay. Can we talk? We just having a discussion today. We're talking about this thing. I shared a piece of media earlier. Let me play it again just to give context.
How long is this sustainable?
Wow. It's not. It won't be from the first day. For every meal that a food bank provides, the SNAP program provides 9. There's no way we can meet that gap. There's no way we can replace every single one of those meals. It is not sustainable for food banks to fill this gap. We were not built to do this. We will stand out there and we will do our very best.
All right. So here we are. Sorry, we're closed. After a month of the shutdown workers face mounting bills and car repossession. Somebody said the TikTok videos are AI. Well, if they're not AI, somebody else should get on there and make a real one. If you hungry, get on TikTok and tell people that you hungry. Start protesting about the fact that you should be able to eat in this country. Do not starve in silence. So I'm just saying, I didn't play none of them. I just going based on the news. After a month of the shutdown, workers face mounting bills and car repossessions. So you got the federal workers. Part of the reason the TSA, meaning the airport issues are happening, is because the TSA security is because they are not being paid. I want you to be respectful as you go through this airport, as you are dealing with people that are providing a service and oftentimes under immense pressure and not being paid adequately. Okay? After a month of the shutdown, workers face mounting bills and car repossessions. The government has been closed for a full month, and this is back on November 1st. And federal workers who have missed 2 paychecks are now using credit cards to pay their bills, visiting food pantries to stock their kitchens, and reviewing their bank accounts, plotting exactly how long they can manage without a salary. How many federal workers do we have in the chat? Somebody called earlier and spoke about their brother that I believe was a federal worker in the airports. 310-388-3499 to hear your testimonial. My job today is only to give voice for the voiceless, to tell you do not starve in silence and do not let anyone make you feel bad for the fact that you are hungry in a country your family built. I just want to talk. I want to slow it down. I want to make sure that everybody gets their voices heard. 323-447 coming to you now. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, it's North.
Give me your take on it, North from Los Angeles.
So, just want to let everybody know, and thank you for the show, first and foremost. You know I love you, sir. Appreciate you so much. I just received a letter about maybe 12 hours ago. As a disabled person, there's a medicine that I take that helps me function every day. And they're telling me soon as 26 come in, I can't have it anymore.
I want everybody to understand the impacts, because this is not just about a shutdown. Everybody's like, why don't the Democrats give in? Understand, I will talk about it later. They have already adjusted the criteria around SNAP to cut off certain able-bodied people from being SNAP. This is standing up to those kind of changes. We have medical coverage when it comes to Obamacare, where people are seeing their coverages double and triple, where people on HMOs are hearing that certain whole agent. I got a letter from my HMO, and they said a whole agency or section is leaving the HMO. We have a fight on our hands, and you got a choice whether you voted for Trump or not. You got to realize you might have effed up. You might have made a decision that you were not educationally able to make. So now you got to own up to the fact that you better go left for that right kill you. Give me your other take on it.
So just with that being said, and the fact that I have to sit up here and suffer for other people's bullshit. Again, I went to school, I graduated, I knew I shouldn't have been having no kids, didn't do that. Voted the way I was supposed to, have always been independent. You know, I did leftist-leaning policy because I knew it would best benefit NGOS. That's the reason why I did it. And then to sit up and hear folks who have the same lineage as me, some saying crazy stuff, not understanding that this is what happens when you try to kill folk or you intend to kill folk. If you don't understand what's going on, that's what the administration is doing. They want to kill folk. And understand that not only were you all supposed to do leftist-leaning policy because that's what benefits you most, but you were supposed to sit up and also check the left when they're not doing enough.
Come on.
As well as the clean one. I forget the number to that one, but you all will be able to find it. Voting for so far as policy and leftist-leaning also knew that this stuff was coming and didn't do enough about it. Thank you, Tom.
Wait, North, wait. This is the thing that's interesting about one of the points she made. Checking the left. The ADOS project was about checking the left. I don't want to hear nothing about us being far right. We were far left. I wrote on inequality.org for 2 years. That's a think tank that talks about inequality of wealth. I wrote there for 2 years. They didn't even include that in the New York Times article. I believe it was purposeful. I believe it was purposeful to exclude it. I didn't share this before, but the woman asked me if I had been to prison. The girl that wrote the New York Times article. I don't know how you ask an attorney that question. I don't know what happened where you guys didn't understand. Down ballot Democrat was a vote to check the left because no one black was doing that. Everybody was falling in line. So now here we are, where instead of checking the left, people that had high school level dropout levels of education made you believe that the far right was an alternative. Well, here we are, where me and Yvette told you when Trump was first brought in that the far right ain't no answer. We told you about food stamp cuts when? In 2017, 2016. So now we were checking the left, and what we got back from the move on and all of that stuff was basically we don't want to be checked. What I'm saying to you is that your job is to keep checking. And we did that with all the consequences. Thank you, North. So we here talking about these issues. We talked earlier with someone, and he was talking about the transportation issues. I want to make sure I give context because some people, you're not keeping up with the news. Let me say another thing. This is a moment where no one has the right not to know what's going on. Some of y'all been playing for the better part of 20 years, telling me about Versus and Brandy got a concert from her old music and that the One Fest in Atlanta, and don't know what's going on. You have an obligation to yourself. You have an obligation to your family. You have an obligation to your neighborhood and to your community to know what's going on. This show is condensing some things, but this is not at all anything other than a primer. You need to be following up with what's going on locally. Don't tell me you just found out that food stamps got cut when food stamps got cut. Okay. Transportation Secretary announces 10% reduction in U.S. air traffic. We ain't never heard nothing like this. So they announced it, I think, 2 days ago. And they just announced the cities today. And they got LA on there. They got Atlanta. They got 40 cities on there. We have decided that a 10% reduction in scheduled capacity would be appropriate to continue to take the pressure off our air controllers. They don't have the money to pay the controllers in the sky towers. They don't have the money to pay the TSA doing the security. So what they're going to do is reduce the flights, but they already booked the flights. So what's going to happen is that the layover, the sitting time is going to get long. 1.5, 2 hours. Did y'all see Houston with the lines in Houston? Did you see the lines in Houston? Let me zoom in so you can see them on the screen. In the chat, I want to make sure you are in there. How would you feel if you got stuck in the line that's on the screen? Whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're Latino, whether you're Asian, how would you feel getting stuck in this line as you go to see your family for an emergency, as you go to do business? Federal officials announced that U.S. will reduce air traffic by 10% across 40 high-value markets starting on Friday. Bedford said, and Bedford is the head of the Federal Aviation Administrator. He would specify which 40 cities around the country will be affected on Thursday. He has specified those cities now. You can get that list. It includes, I believe, New York, Atlanta, LA, cities in Texas. Adding that restrictions will affect commercial airspace and other activities, including space launches. More air traffic controllers are exhibiting fatigue as they work without pay during the congressional stalemate. I don't need my doctor. I don't need my lawyer. I don't need my air traffic controller exhibiting fatigue. Now in its 36th day, Bedford added Thursday will mark 1 month since controllers were last paid. So you got people that are not paid telling the planes where to go and where to land. Can we talk? Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? 909. 910. 910.
What's going on, Tone? This is Christian from Fayetteville, North Carolina. How you doing, sir?
Give me your take on this. I'm getting through it. I got a lot of subject matter. Give me your take on this stalemate, on this freeze, and how you see it from the transportation to the food stamps and anything in between.
Yeah, no, it's awful, 100%. I think in the video that you had shown earlier, I think there's a key part that a lot of people aren't taking into account, which is like the residual effects of this. Because although the services are getting cut, you have folks in local positions that are trying to take up weight that they cannot bear that was being bared by the federal government. So we just had a program in my city helping folks with rent or with any type of housing assistance. They get back behind on their mortgage and reach certain income brackets. The problem was when the program opened, they had to close it in less than 24 hours because there were too many applicants. They haven't even gotten around to everybody yet. So there were so many people that were in my city that weren't necessarily getting food stamps, but they needed to keep a roof over their head. And now the city is overwhelmed because they said we don't need government in our lives.
Let me also say this. Let me also say this. I had to block someone because they don't understand. Again, just to give you my educational background, everyone can say theirs. And I'm not saying if you don't have an educational background, you can't have an opinion, but there is expertise and there's anecdotal experience. I have expertise. So I'm a political science major from UCLA. UCLA is one of the top educational institutions in the world, but particularly as to political science. What is happening here is that people don't understand that this shutdown is also a stand against the snap changes generally beyond just the shut. They're trying to make it so that certain people past a certain age can't get the snap. They're trying to change the definition of able-bodied, as I understand. Understand this is about the Section 8 being cut. Do you remember when we were talking about Section 8 and how people will not be able to get Section 8? This is about standing up against a political paradigm shift as much as it is just a stand up against a specific budget cut. So as I stand here today and tell you, do not get mad at people standing up to evil and say, why don't you give in to evil? Ask the question why you supported evil and you voted for Trump. Come on, let's get to it. Go ahead, give me your last take on it.
The most personified example that I'm seeing of this negative bill is having to go to a food bank and I'm sitting in line behind another Negro in a BMW, but we got to get the same food. It's me having to work with
some of these so-called black contractors that I have to do with my job that are supposed to be real estate gurus, and all of them will tell me, yeah, I work for Section 8 tenants. Well, when the Section 8 gets cut off, so does your business. So a lot of these people are like, they're literally voting for the things that are pulling out the rug, not only from them, but from their communities and from their children.
Can I give you another thing to add on to your list? What we also have is we have a rhetoric of a line of black respectability that fringes on being far right talk, where you look at food stamps and don't understand that adequate food is a responsibility of the U.S. government. It is a responsibility to make sure people are fed. It is a responsibility to make sure that everyone is supported with childcare. It is a and if you don't believe that, maybe you need to realize you shouldn't be talking to us as black folk, because we all believe that as black folk. Give me your last take on it.
I just think that, one of the things that I will say, because we've seen a lot of flashpoints politically, I'll say especially for young folks, I'm starting to look at us go from, instead of just sitting there and being told that we need to pull up ourselves by the bootstraps, we're looking at our grandparents and telling us, all right, well, hand yours over and we'll take it from here.
Can I read something to you to give you context? I'm gonna get back to this show, but to give his words context, here's two. I mean, you guys might not have ever seen this. The credit card powered by your car. Yendo is the first credit card backed by vehicle equity. So they got a credit card backed by your vehicle equity. It works like a regular MasterCard, but taps into your vehicle equity to get higher limits. So if you get late on that credit card, we're not going through the general process. We coming for your car. The car that you use for your gig driving, your means of living. Subprime auto borrowers who are 60 plus days late on their car payment hit an all-time high of 6.4%. Health insurance sticker shock begins as shutdown battle over subsidies rage. I'm going to let you go because I got a full queue, Christian. Thank you so much. Look, we're having this discussion. I just want to talk about this government shutdown. I want to get to some subject matter, get everybody in here to have their voice on it. We have the Transportation Secretary announcing 10% reduction in U.S. air traffic. We have Trump administration noticed that no federal food aid would go out November 1st, and they did that, and people basically didn't get food stamps on the 1st. But before we get into that, I want to talk about why the U.S. government has shut down and what happens now. The U.S. government shutdown has entered its third week. This is from back in October 15th, with Republican and Democrat politicians no closer to an agreement on how to resolve an ongoing budget dispute. Why did the U.S. government shut down? See, we've had so many people just talk about the shutdown, they skipped this part. The shutdown happened because Republicans and Democrats could not agree to pass a bill funding government services into October and beyond. Under the U.S. system, the different branches of government have to reach an agreement on spending plans before they can become law. Around the shutdown is this overreaching, in my view as an attorney, of powers by the executive branch. We see that being fought on the tariff battle, which actually goes beyond, because you basically have Trump using tariffs that really are just taxes, when taxes are with the Congress that we vote on, by districts, that we vote on by sections of the country, and you have usurped power where I'm going to use tariffs through war power, wherever else I'm using, to basically usurp that power into the executive branch when the executive branch doesn't hold that power. Supreme Court is arguing that right now. So we see these battles going on. The Republicans currently control both chambers of Congress, but the Senate or upper chamber, they are short of the 60 votes needed to pass the spending bill, which gives opposition Democrats some negotiating power. They want to see an extension of expiring tax credits, which make health insurance cheaper for millions of Americans. How many people's insurance just doubled? Okay. And for a reversal of Trump's cuts to Medicaid. So as you look at this, don't ask the question why the Democrats are not just folding, because if they fold, they just get you in a different kind of problem that ain't you don't get food stamps today. It means you might be cut off food stamps forever because you able-bodied by definition. Even though you 59 and disabled, you're not 65 and disabled. There's all kind of little twists and turns they're doing right now. A government health program used by millions of elderly, disabled, and low-income people. How many people in the chat have a Medicaid, have a person on this Medicaid that if it's cut will have to come live with them and doesn't have enough for retirement? Democrats also oppose spending cuts to government health agencies. Which government services have stopped and which are carrying on? Not all aspects of government stopped during a shutdown. Services deemed essential continue as normal. But now we see the problem. Over a period of time, we don't have enough money to fund those programs, so they get stopped by the fact that there is no funding. Services deemed essential continue as normal, although in many cases staffs are not paid for the duration of suspension. Borders protection and law enforcement staff, immigration and custom enforcement, ICE agents, and in-hospital medical care workers are expected to operate as usual. However, thousands of flights have been canceled or delayed because of a shortage of air traffic controllers who are also expected to work without pay. U.S. troops were on track to miss their first paycheck on Wednesday, but the Trump administration said it had identified funds to keep them paid. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, however, has warned that this is a temporary fix and that troops risk missing their next paycheck if the shutdown continues. Do you know what it's like to be a troop, to be out there and not get your check for being out there in the field? Social Security and Medicare changes are still being sent out. Medicare checks are still being sent out, although benefit verification and car issuance work may stop. Government employees deemed non-essential have been furloughed, temporarily put on unpaid leave. Contractors who work for federal agencies but are not directly employed by the government are missing out on work too. Several agencies like the Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the National Institute of Health have been furloughed, many workers affecting ongoing research projects. Services like food assistance programs and federally funded preschool and institutions like the Smithsonian Museums have been reduced or closed due to federal government shutdown. During the previous shutdown between 2018 and 2019, national parks were kept open with no staff, which led to vandalism and looting at a number of historical sites. Mail is still being delivered, and post offices are open because the U.S. Postal Service did not depend on Congress for funding. Most American schools are state-funded, but the federal government is responsible for billions of dollars in grants and student loans, which could effectively come to a halt. However, because the grants are typically awarded during the summer, schools are expected to largely be unaffected during this shutdown, according to the Education Secretary. Members of Congress are still being paid in a convention that had been criticized by some politicians. So we are in here. We are having this discussion. Caller 909, I want to hear from you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you, 909. Your name, where you calling from?
Okay. My name's Letitia. I'm from the 909 San Bernardino. I just want to say peace to the chat, peace to you, Tone. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to have this space to learn and grow and also to strategize. I just want to piggyback on everything you've been saying about the leadership and also about the voting with the electoral colleges, that we just need to hold our leaders accountable. They're the ones that's supposed to, to figure this out for us. As we elected them to vote for us, and they voted the way they wanted to and elected this person into office, because I am no party affiliation. So when you go no party affiliation, you are not able to vote for the president. So I voted for myself. But at the end of the day, our leadership, local and nationally, they shouldn't be paid at this time. You know, they need to feel the pain just the way we do. All of them have, businesses and other ways to make money. For them to be in our leadership and be accountable to the people, I think that we should stop paying people to be in these positions, because they don't have our best interests at heart.
Can I ask you a question?
And I also want to go into the economics of food stamps.
Yes, that's what I was going to
The
ask you.
economics of food stamps is bigger than just the people that receive the benefits. The economics of food stamps goes along with people being able to live in sober living homes and rehab. They depend on those food stamps to feed their people. Also, people that receive benefits have pets. Now they will have to decide whether to buy their dog or cat or any other animal they have food or food for themselves. Also goes along with the elderly. The elderly, most of them do receive benefits from Social Security, which are not affected, but they depend on that money, to make ends meet and to feed, to feed themselves. Also with the corporations and the leadership with the corporations, where are they at? Why aren't they providing food? Why aren't they providing, discounts and things like that? And then for Trump to come out and say you can't, show a difference between people because they receive EBT, that's the problem. That's the problem. They always want to, be divisive. And for them to wait till the middle of October, once they know everyone's benefits have been spent, to tell us that they wouldn't fund food stamps, that was very divisive and strategic. We have to come together. I just purchased the ADOS framework book. It should be here tomorrow.
support my people and for us to get strategic with how we do things. It's okay. We've been hungry. We've been hungry before. We know what to do. We know how to come together. We know how to take care of each other, but we got to stop falling into these same traps that they lay out for us time after time. And that's all I got to say right now.
Thank you so much. That was a word. Let me say this. What the sister did wonderfully was to explain for those people that think this is just a food stamp issue, that this is an issue that reaches beyond food stamps. And even if it is just a food stamp issue, you should have more respect for people trying to eat. And if you don't have respect, you don't understand how community works, because people that can't eat might get a little dangerous. And we don't deserve to have people that are dangerous because they can't eat in our community. The government is closed, and we are not hearing enough about the issue. With food stamps set to dry up November 1st, SNAP recipients say they fear what's next. This is back from October 28th. Roughly 42 million Americans rely on food stamps that arrive every month. I think there's like 360 million Americans or so on their electronic benefit transfer cards. On November 1st, that aid is set to abruptly stop, and it did, amid the ongoing U.S. government shutdown, potentially leaving households scrambling to figure out how to put food on the table. People enrolled in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, told CBS News they're bracing for some tough financial choices. Casey McBlies, a 42-year-old single mom who lives in Buckville, Maine, said she's planning to delay paying her electric and credit card bills to make sure her two children have enough to eat. The suspension of food aid comes as Democratic and Republican lawmakers continue to trade blame over the government shutdown, which now stands as the second longest funding lapse in U.S. history. It's now the longest at 36 days. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, which funds the SNAP program, warned earlier this month that there would be insufficient funding to pay full November benefits if the shutdown continued. Come on. Let's talk. Where Americans rely most on food stamps, if you look, green is below 8%. Light green is 11 point to 8 to 11.4. Darker green is 11.4 to 14.7. You look at California, you look at down south, you look at Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi, all of that down there. Look at Louisiana, they're up at the 18%, 14 to 18% mark. Nevada is at 14 to 18%. You see a lot of these states. I think Michigan is right here. Excuse me if I'm wrong. Or is it up here? I'm sorry. A lot of these states, with New Mexico having the highest share of its residents receiving benefits at 21.5%. Trump administration says it won't pay TAP emergency funds to pay food aid. They said they will not do that. Now we're hearing more about that because they agreed to half. And they're talking about giving people 65%. We'll talk about that in a second. The Trump administration won't tap emergency funds to pay for federal food benefits, imperiling benefits starting November 1st for nearly 42 million Americans. USDA said in a memo that it won't tap a contingency fund or other nutrition programs to cover the cost of SNAP, which is set to run out of federal funds at the end of the month. Okay. So here we are. We're having this discussion. We get in here. Please support the channel. You can go to tonetalks.net or the Cash App. We're here to have a discussion about this government shutdown and what's going on. Health insurance sticker shock. So again, there's these larger issues like funding, the undergirding of funding for the Obamacare programs that people's families are insured by. This is the backdrop of the war, of the battle that's going on behind the government shutdown. Health insurance sticker shock begins as shutdown battle looms, battle over subsidies. CNN Fact, check some of the fake news around SNAP. Okay, so a myth. 310-388-3499 to hear from you. People who get SNAP don't work. Most SNAP participants who can work do work. Okay. So how many people in the chat thought that all the SNAP recipients did not work? SNAP drains the economy. SNAP boosts the economy. Each dollar in benefit during a downturn raises GDP by $1.54. SNAP benefits go to documented immigrants. Undocumented immigrants are ineligible. The program is limited to U.S. citizens, certain lawfully present immigrants. SNAP is rife with fraud. Over the last 15 years, SNAP fraud has fallen from 4% to 1%. Okay. SNAP benefits to halt in some states amid government shutdown. This is October 21st. SNAP serves roughly 42 million low-income Americans. One of the biggest impacts of the government shutdown is about to hit tens of millions of poorest Americans hard. The halting of critical food assistance programs. Several states are now warning they will be forced to suspend supplemental nutrition assistance programs benefits from November 1st if the shutdown continues. SNAP, often referred to as food stamps, serves roughly 42 million low-income Americans. The program, run by the USDA Food and Nutritional Services, issues electronic benefits that can be used like cash to purchase food. Texas is now warning that millions of recipients that all November SNAP benefits will be halted if the shutdown continues past October 27th, which it did. Pennsylvania officials say they will also not be able to distribute SNAP benefits if the shutdown, now in its 21st day, continues. Because Republicans in Washington, D.C. failed to pass on a federal budget causing the federal government shutdown November 2025, SNAP benefits cannot be paid. An alert on the state's Department of Human Services website reads, other states such as Minnesota and New York are issuing similar warnings. SNAP has traditionally been entirely federally funded, but is administered by states. That means the shutdown's impact on SNAP and when benefits will start to dry up will vary state to state. Earlier this month, the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children, commonly known as WIC, received $300 million from the White House to help support the program through October 31st amid the shutdown. But now states are projected to run out of funds as early as next month. WIC, which helped more than 7 million low-income mothers, young children, and expectant mothers get nutritious foods, is on the verge of running out of money as early as November 1st. Without additional funding, state WIC agencies may be forced to take drastic measures that prevent families from accessing the services that they need. Okay, so we are having this discussion. In addition to this, reports came out, and again, you might say, who's writing these articles? I think it's important on Twitter to pull up the person and verify the person. In the chat, how many people verify a person before they share their tweet? I want you to make sure to add that to your repertoire. This woman is an MSNBC anchor and co-host of The Weekend. What she said is that the USDA sent an email to grocery stores telling them they are prohibited from offering special discounts to customers affected by the SNAP funding lapse. I'm aware of at least 2 stores that had offered struggling customers a discount, then withdrew it after receiving this email. USDA Food and Nutrition Services. Reminder, SNAP EBT authorized retailers must comply with the SNAP Equal Treatment Rule. You must offer eligible food at the same prices and on the same terms and conditions to SNAP customers as other customers, except that sales tax cannot be charged on SNAP purchases. You cannot treat SNAP customers differently than any other customer. Offering discounts or services only to SNAP paying customers is a SNAP violation unless you have a SNAP equal treatment. Let me say this to people in the chat that might argue, why should I have to pay more? If you see somebody starving and you have that in your heart, you might be watching the wrong show. What I'm saying to you is that we are in calamity. I dealt with this with the Category 5 storm that hit Jamaica. Yeah, there's general views. But when a Category 5 that may be a Category 6, and they never even had that before, hits a place, it's okay to set aside differences and come to a belief system that I hope your God put in you to care for the next man. So let me finish this, what she said they were telling SNAP, because I know a lot of people in the chat, or let me say some people in the chat might come back, why should I have to pay? Okay. Understandable why grocery stores might be scared off. Stores caught violating the prohibition could be denied ability to accept SNAP benefits in the future. In low-income areas where SNAP shutdown will have the biggest impact, getting thrown off SNAP could mean a store is no longer financially viable. On my first day, USDA, we told every state to send us their SNAP data so we could make sure illegal immigrants aren't getting benefits meant for American families. 29 states stepped up, 21 blue states refused, and 2 sued us for asking. So this is our secretary, Brooke Rollins. Okay, Trump was pulling up. Anyway. So what we had as a discussion, since all of this pressure came down after November 1st, thank you for the support, DJ Thumper. Thank you for the support. Is how many people know about this? Trump administration says it's paying out half of the November benefits. So it's so unorganized that he didn't announce this a few weeks ahead so that people could prepare. He announced this after days of people not getting food that I'm just going to throw out half. The administration said it will release funds to pay for a half month's worth of food assistance benefits in November, days after two courts ordered the U.S. Department of Agriculture to release the money to avoid driving nearly 42 million Americans into food insecurity. The Trump administration said Monday they will release enough funds to pay for a half month's worth of food assistance benefits in November, days after two courts ordered the U.S. Department of Agriculture to release the money. They didn't say release half the money. They said release the money. But what happens when you do something like that is they not really set up to do half. This is what happens.
Well, the Trump administration agreed to comply with a federal judge's order to use the SNAP contingency fund to pay November benefits. But officials say that money will only fund the program at the 50% level.
News 4's Jackie Benson has more tonight on what this means for the hundreds of thousands of people in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia who receive supplemental nutrition assistance benefits known as SNAP.
November SNAP payments have already been delayed for millions of people. It has resulted in increased demand at local food banks and pantries. The disbursement of contingency money ordered by a federal judge, which would only fund the nutrition assistance program at 50%, will take time. The administration says the process of loading the cards can take up to 2 weeks or longer in some states. In the district, which has already pledged to cover recipients' benefits for November, a spokesperson for Mayor Bowser tells News 4 the district is proceeding forward with its plan to pay November SNAP benefits. In Virginia, which created a weekly benefit program for SNAP recipients known as Virginia Emergency Nutrition Assistance, Governor Glenn Youngkin stated, benefits have been distributed to the first third of individuals as scheduled on Monday, November 3rd. We will continue to distribute funds as scheduled to ensure Virginians in need don't go hungry because they are being used as political leverage by congressional Democrats. And in Maryland, Governor Wes Moore announced an executive order to release $62 million to ensure full November benefits, stating, one of the first and most basic priorities of governing is to ensure families do not go hungry, he added. But no state can fill the enormous gap created by Donald Trump and his administration.
So SNAP recipients will now get up to 65% of November food stamp benefits, Trump administration says. Well, the video we just watched basically said it's going to take 2 weeks for that to even process in some states. Do you understand the calamity of running a home waiting for food 2 weeks late? Earlier today, I talked to you, right? And I said, as you look at this standoff, understand that in the backstop of the standoff are these Medicaid cuts, are these SNAP rule changes, are these changes to the subsidies for Obamacare. So as you push back and say, why can't the Democrats just fold? Folding means you still might not eat. You just get to eat tonight, but maybe not next month because you get kicked off. Let me read to you. The new SNAP restrictions go into place amid shutdown drama. New supplemental SNAP nutrition assistance program SNAP rules are going into effect on Saturday. This is back on November 1st, this article. Even as benefits will already not be issued through November without federal funding because of the government shutdown, the USDA website where millions of Americans can review their options and apply details how the well has run dry to issue program benefits. While SNAP benefits will not be issued until funding continues, President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill Act also enacts new restrictions that took effect starting Saturday. These changes are expected to push some people out of the program after an estimated $186 billion federal spending cut over the next decade. Adults without dependents could see the biggest change in needing to prove they work at least 80 hours a month. Then if you live in a place that don't have enough work, you got to come up with paperwork to show that you might not be able to prove up, based on my view. So they want you to gig work with a car that you ain't got no way to prove up that you're working so that you can eat, are pursuing an education or in a training program to remain qualified for SNAP. Should they not have proof, they will receive SNAP benefits for a total of 3 months max. Additionally, any adults younger than 65 years old must prove they are working to continue receive benefits. Parents with dependents younger than 14, they changed that age. I believe it used to be 18, 17 or 18. They've dropped it by 3 years. So if you got so what does that mean? That 16, that the 17-year-old got to go work? That's still a child. 15, 16, 17-year-old children are less valuable than 14 and under children. Are now exempt from work requirements, whereas before it applied to parents with dependents younger than 18 years old. Young adults, veterans, and homeless people must now meet work requirements to receive over 3 months of benefits. I hope that those kind of changes don't lead to parents putting out 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old children to the streets. For those people that say that's a bridge too far, understand what they are saying. They are saying we will give you the SNAP to feed your 14-year-old, but when they turn 15, you better have the means to do it. We're not helping. They're changing the meaning of a minor. Okay. Do we see this backstop? Thank you so much for the support, ICIP. Can we get to this? Can we have this discussion? Aaron Green, thank you for the support. I see you up in here, North. 310-388-3499. If you see how they have redefined a minor, breaking, President Donald Trump said that federal food benefits won't be distributed until after Democrats agree to reopen the government. He is playing tantrum with people's lives. I see Peace Sauce up in there. Okay. I see everybody's in here having this chat. We are having this discussion. We are having this discussion. This will cause the age of majority to effectively reduce from 18 to 15. What do you think? They redefining what a child is. The government shutdown is now the longest in U.S. history. It's not 22 days. This is older now. It's 36 days. It's the longest. The TikTok creator show off what she had just stole from a store. Okay. Shut down government. I'm going to take this caller, last caller of the day. 714, what's your name? Where you calling from? 714.
Yeah, hey, this is Vince. Fellow UCLA Bruin, I'm calling from Temecula, California. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm all right. I'm just trying to wrap everybody's mind around. See, like black folks post Cosby, these are really apolitical shows, and I believe that was irresponsible in some means to be apolitical, but it's how they stayed on TV. But in a sense, what they left behind is a black respectability. People redefine black respectability in a post-Reagan, pull yourselves up by your bootstrap kind of mentality while they were being buttressed by government. Well, now the generation that was born out of these households has come of age, and they tend to have a rhetoric that basically doesn't understand your cousin on Snap. How you gonna vote for Trump? Give me your take on the whole thing. Maybe it's different, but I'm just telling you, it's a problem out here.
So as a kid that grew up in Compton, 431 West School Street, between the Razzie and Spruce, I just want to educate the audience, especially like a lot of people like yourself that have YouTube channels. Here's a $1 million question that I want everyone to go out and do some research on. Do you remember the Supreme Court yesterday during the hearing with the Solicitor General?
Yeah.
And the court had asked him in a refund how much money had they collected, and he said somewhere around between $70 and $90 billion.
You talking about the tariffs? Go ahead.
Yeah, that went into the general fund. You know, when you get your paycheck every week, every 2 weeks, you look and it says Fed tax. That goes into the general fund until you get a tax refund. Correct?
Go ahead.
Okay, there was no anticipation for this money, so Congress didn't say this money's going to come in and we're going to spend it here or there. It's just sitting over at the Treasury. See where I'm going at with this?
Yeah, give me your take. You can just speak. I'm not here. Just go ahead.
So roughly $10 billion a month is coming in this money. So they can easily go to the Treasury Secretary and say, can we IOU this money, pay the air traffic controllers, pay the SNAP fund, get in the room with the Democrats, hey, let's pay everybody up, especially the air traffic controllers, let's pay up the SNAP program at the end of the year, let's negotiate. Now, and I'll tell you why the Democrats don't want to open up the government. The minute they open up the government, those subsidies are permanent. So they can't change the health thing once the government opens up if they don't negotiate. So they actually have to negotiate the health care thing Because once the government opens up, then that goes into effect. November 1st was when you actually renew, right? So if you're a federal employee, right, that's when you renew your annual federal health care benefits and all of the ACA like benefits. That all happens November 1st. So the minute they open up the government, if they don't get a change before the government reopens, all that goes into effect.
And that's what I was trying to explain to people that is being masked here a bit. Of course, the immediate truth is that people are starving, not having SNAP. Of course, the immediate truth is that the government shutdown is affecting federal workers and that it's affecting TSA providing security. But the backstop of this is that there is a war being fought about the direction of this country. And in many ways, the travesty of this is that far too few people understand the calamity behind Medicaid cuts, the calamity behind changing the identity of who a child is using SNAP benefits, as I just read, the realities of what happens when people can't afford health insurance because the subsidies are changed. And you need to be aware of the backdrop of this as much as the foreground. That's a great call. I'm gonna just end on that because that was just powerful. Thank you so much, bro. What I want to do is just say, please share this video. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I wanted to have this discussion and talk about this and talk about everything that we had going on. I believe that we need the government reopened, but we need the government reopened on terms that makes the government work for people.
Welcome to Tony Talks. Welcome to Tony